everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea. So this video is going to be, I've only talked about freelancing once in a video so far, so I'm still getting into a rhythm with talking about the whole freelance side. But I'm a freelance writer, editor, and instructor. Full-time instructor, freelance writer, and editor. And this video is going to be part of a series of videos geared towards other freelancers, particularly early stage freelancers, to help other freelancers who, like me, are still in the early stages of their freelance journey and kind of pass on knowledge and tips and information that I've learned and that are helping me in this journey. So I've been doing freelance for about a year. I'm still in the very early stages in terms of building up a client list and a steady roster of work and projects, but the past year has definitely been a learning experience. So I've got the list on my phone. I've got 5 kind of do's and don'ts, and they come in pairs. So there's 5 different sections with a do and a don't for each one. So diving right in. Number 1, do your research. Take some time to read up on being a freelancer in general. I highly recommend the Freelancer's Bible. I'm going to try to do a book review on that soon, but the Freelancer's Bible was really, really helpful to me. It's definitely kind of beginner level for everything, but it covers every aspect of going freelance, from setting up an office to getting into a routine and a schedule, tips on where to kind of start marketing and advertising yourself and finding new clients and things like that, but also goes into like taxes and finances and all of that. Really kind of, for me, is scary stuff. If you want to learn more about taxes, then you'd probably want to find a separate resource specifically on taxes for freelancers, but the Freelancer's Bible just had everything I needed to know, at least to get started, and to then figure out what areas I would need to research in more detail. There are also so many other YouTube channels, podcasts, blogs, Instagram accounts. Like, there's so much information. So many other freelancers do create content geared towards other freelancers or other online entrepreneurs. There's a lot of information out there that is easy. A lot of it is free, or free if you sign up for someone's newsletter, kind of a thing. I did a ton of that, which is great because then you're kind of following other more established freelancers and online entrepreneurs. There's just an abundance of information out there, and it is so easy and free. I think the Freelancer's Bible was one of only about 3 or 4 books that I actually paid to purchase for my Kindle. Everything else I found was free, or like I said, free if I signed up for their email list, which then it's easy to unsubscribe later on. But a lot of those I've continued to stay subscribed to. I keep getting their emails, and there's been more useful stuff in that. A lot of people also do like free webinars. Most of the time they're a way of then pitching a paid course or something, but if you look around, test things out, I managed to find a few people that did offer really good free education content, even though the last like 15 minutes would then be kind of selling whatever their bigger paid product was. A lot of really, really good information out there. So do your research, but don't get stuck in that phase. I probably spent more time than strictly necessary reading up on being freelance and finding resources to help me get started. I didn't really start actively seeking out clients until quite a bit later than I probably should have. Have the research be an ongoing thing, but don't let it stop you from then actually taking action on the things that you are learning. That's one of my big problems. I have a tendency to do that. So number 2, do look around for websites that can help you get started. So sites like Upwork. I've signed up with Upwork, but I haven't done any work through Upwork, but I've heard good things about it. Doing the research, it does seem pretty legitimate, and I know people who've done work on there. The reviews are mixed. One thing I've heard is basically don't get stuck on sites like that. but they are a good way to get experience, figure out your work process, so how you go through a project start to finish, as well as a good way to help build up your portfolio so that you have work to show potential clients. But you don't want to stay on those sites for too long because the pay really isn't going to be that great, and you probably deserve to earn more than you get on those sites. Know what your worth is, even as someone getting started who maybe doesn't have a ton of experience. Know what your qualifications are, know what your worth is, and if you do start on some of these kind of freelance gig type sites, don't let yourself get taken advantage of, and don't stay on those sites for too long. Also, I came across a site, and I don't want to name and shame because maybe it's good. I wasn't going to pay to find out. But don't ever pay to be a member of these sites. Now, sites like Upwork and sites with a similar model will take a fee, a percentage out of what you get paid. That makes sense. They're serving as the middleman, they're serving as that space for your client to say that they need some help, put the information out, you're able to then make the proposal, get that job, do that work. It makes sense that they then take a small percentage of whatever your fee is. But anywhere that says that you have to pay a certain fee per month or per quarter or per year in order to see the jobs that clients are posting, no, don't do that. Everyone I've ever talked to in a number of industries has always said, like, anytime you are trying to find work, never, ever, 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 no matter what the marketing promotions say, never pay someone in the hopes of getting jobs. Even if the salaries, and on this particular website, they're advertising that like the writing jobs that you can get on there can bring you in $2,000, $4,000 a month. And I think it's like, it wasn't cheap to sign up. I can't remember, but it wasn't cheap. It was like a good couple $100 for like 6 months or something. No. It's just a bad idea. Back in the days when I was in theater and considering pursuing acting, it was something else that we were warned about there. You know, an agent is obviously going to take a percentage of your cut, but you should never have to pay a fee up front to your agent or to a casting director or anything like that. It's the same thing with freelance. I don't care what the website says. I don't care what claims they make about the types of jobs they can get you. You should never have to pay up front. Expect that you might have to if you're going through a kind of website like Upwork or similar, or Fiverr or things like that. There probably is going to be a fee that website takes out of your pay, but that should always come at the end of the job as you are being paid, not before you even get the job in the first place. Those sites can be great, but be careful and do your research about them. Number 3, do figure out a process that works for you and make that clear to your clients, and don't deviate from that process unless there's an emergency. Your clients need to know what to expect and will rely on that with planning other aspects of their business. So for example, I might be writing the web copy for someone's website, but they're probably also working with the web designer for the visual design and layout. If I give them a deadline for when the web copy is going to be submitted to them, then that's going to factor into the deadlines they set with their web designer. So again, you can't plan emergencies. If you give someone a deadline and then you get struck down with the flu and you can't do anything for 2 or 3 days, then that's going to be a special circumstance. But you really want to have your process worked out and be able to stick to it. So for me, I kind of know step by step, you know, in terms of chat with the client, write up the proposal, proposal accepted, send contract, contract accepted with deposit of initial payment, first draft, revisions, final draft, final payment. Like there's a rough flow, and that's all mapped out for my client so that they know kind of, they can check off what stages we're at. If you get done ahead of deadline, great, but you want to make sure that you're not taking more than you think. And I did have that problem. There was just a little bit of confusion combined with stuff going on in my own life, and I ended up being a little bit later than we had expected. And so I ended up having to kind of give a discount on the project to make up for the fact that I was late. And I was happy to do that, and it made things with the client, it kind of smoothed things over with them. But even when you're getting started, you really want to be paying attention to those things and making sure that you have all of that under control and are learning from that. If you start kind of developing a process and then realize, oh, it's not really working, then you know for the next time where to revise your process. If something isn't working or doesn't feel like it's really fitting how you like to work, then you make those changes. Number 4, do create a contract and stick to it with all of your clients. So even if some of your clients are friends or family or people that you feel like, oh, they're not going to stiff me, they're not going to not pay, or they're not going to, make me go through a million rounds of edits, so I don't need to have something that specifically limits them to a certain number. Even if you feel like your client is amazing and you can trust them, still do a contract. I've been lucky. My first few clients have been angels, and I absolutely love working for them. And the contract just feels like a minor technicality because it really doesn't feel like it's needed with them. But number 1, it helps you get into that process of, initial consultation, send the quote with the proposal, send in the contract. Like it gets to be part of your process. But you also never know. And the way I see it is you can always ease up on the rules. This is how I am as a teacher as well. So in my syllabus, I consider my syllabus to be the contract with my students. My syllabus makes me sound really strict with a lot of rules. It's easier to start off strict and ease up a bit and say, oh, actually don't worry about that. I'll slip in an extra round of revisions, or, we can do this or that instead. Or, I'll add in this extra paragraph and I won't charge you extra. You can make that judgment call with individual clients. But if you don't have something in writing and then you end up with a client that really tries to take advantage of you, you have nothing to protect yourself. So definitely do create a contract and make sure that it is tight. You don't want to, so the don't of this is don't allow clients to deviate from the contract or give them wiggle room with loose language in the contract. So you, as the vendor, as the provider of the service, you can choose to throw in extras or give them freebies or things like that. You can choose that. And I would recommend always let them know when you're doing that. But let them know, oh, well, normally, according to the contract, I would do this, but, since you've been such a great client, or since this project is going so smoothly, or whatever, so make sure that you're framing it in a way that it lets them know that you're kind of doing them a favor, but never have the contract be so vague that they can find a loophole, basically. Contract that I found it online. They'd posted it as kind of a, here's the contract that they've worked with. People can feel free to copy it. They'd done all of the legal research. So I really like the contract that I found. It's good for me as a copywriter, but just search like contracts for freelance photographers, contracts for freelance web designers. You might be able to find a free one like I did, or there are websites that will, for a small fee, create a contract template for you that again is kind of backed up with all of the legalities. If I hadn't found the free one, I probably would have done something like that, and eventually one day I probably will kind of upgrade to a better contract. But even if you completely make up your contract yourself, just having something in writing stating what the project is for each client, what the timeline is, what the payment is, and what the terms of payment are, it still would stand up better in court than if you just kind of had a handshake type deal. So make sure that you're covering yourself in that way. And then number 5, do invest a little bit of money in your business from the outset. Small investments can have big impact and help you look more professional and be taken a little bit more seriously, but don't go overboard and spend too much money before you're even making any. So I'm going to do a separate video on how I've started my freelance business on a pretty strict budget, so make sure that you subscribe for that so you don't miss that. I'm hoping to have that up in the next few weeks. But basically the short version of my kind of financial journey with this is my rule has been not to invest money until I make money. The 2 exceptions to that were, in terms of bigger costs, were I did pay for my website, in terms of the domain name and the hosting. So I have a Squarespace site. It's linked down below in the description box. I did pay for that. That was, I think that was, it's like $16 a month. There is like, you get a slight discount. You basically get 1 month free if you pay all up front. I couldn't afford to do that, so I've been paying it month by month. And then my email account for my business, also I think linked down below or is on my website. So I have my own email, andrea@andreajseverson.com, which sounds just a bit more professional than having, at gmail.com or Yahoo or something like that. And that was $50 for a year, so I'll have to renew that. So basically I'm spending a little over $200 every year, which isn't that much to keep my website and my email. And that is kind of the extent of what I've been willing to pay up front. Everything else, like, I don't want to spend the money unless I earn it. So there's lots of great websites that can help with process and workflow and payment and scheduling. And so you'll hear a lot about them. Dubsado, Honeybook, Asana, and then there's a Trello, there's a ton. And the more you get into listening to other freelancers and other online entrepreneurs, the more you will hear some of these names bandied about. All of them have some kind of monthly or yearly subscription fee, and they're not cheap. Some of them, like I know I'm using Asana for free right now. Some of them have free versions until you get to a certain size of your company or number of clients or something like that. So with those, it's great because you can kind of test them out, see if you like them. As my business develops, maybe some of those sites would be something I would want to look into. But right now, it doesn't make sense for me to add on to the list of things I'm paying for monthly or yearly when I still only have less than a half dozen clients that I'm working with. But as I get more clients and get more work, there are things that I would like to add to what I'm investing in because I think they would help with the overall workflow and process and make things a little bit easier. That's just kind of my general rule. I'll invest in my business once my business starts earning me money. I think it's very easy to feel like you've got to drop thousands of dollars to get started, and you will find all kinds of amazing online courses and seminars and ebooks and other materials that other online business owners sell as part of their business, coaching. There's so much, and you can feel like you need to do all of that in order to be successful with your business. But I think it doesn't make sense to spend money if you're not making money, and you don't really want to essentially bankrupt yourself trying to start a freelance job, whether it's a side hustle or something you want to take full time. Most of us, when we do freelance, we're doing it because we're looking for financial freedom. So it really doesn't make sense to cripple yourself financially in the process of trying to gain financial freedom. Be aware that no matter what you're hearing, you can start a freelance business without having to spend a ton of money. So be very careful with that. Like I said, I've got a separate video coming soon specifically on budgeting and dealing with finances as a freelancer and all of the financial lessons that I've kind of learned in this past year. So that's it for this video. Are you a freelancer? What are your do's and don'ts? What have you learned in your early years, whether you're kind of still in your first year or headed into your second year like I am, or you've been doing this for a number of years? I'd love to know what your do's and don'ts are. Please let me know down in the comments. While you're at it, please give the video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that, and subscribe so that you don't miss future videos. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.